we've seen the crypto market make some really nice moves over the past couple of days, and so I wanted to go over a general altcoin update here on the channel, talking about some of the favorites that we talk about quite frequently. Things like ICP, Kaspa, Onyx coin, Zebec, SUI, and then as well as XRP, just because we've seen some really nice moves kind of out of all of them, and so I want to go over kind of each of them individually. However, before we get started in that though, I did want to show you one thing that we have been taking a closer look at, just to provide an update on where we're at on the total 2 market cap. We'll get this search away here. We can see here on the total 2, if we zoom in just a little bit, really big news happening, and something that we haven't seen basically since we broke down out of it here back in late January of this year. So this is kind of the level we were at for altcoins. Again, for those of you who are not aware, total 2 is essentially all crypto market caps excluding Bitcoin. So this is essentially like the truest indicator of altcoins and the health of altcoins. What we saw coming back in like kind of the mid to late November timeframe, we broke out into these highs. Again, this is the all-time high for altcoins. So we broke out into kind of like near all-time highs and then stuttered around here for a little bit, and then of course broke down, which is where we have been for the past couple of months. Now if we look here, we have started to make a really nice move back to the upside, and we are officially kind of breaking into this really high liquidity zone, which is really good to see. Now the next thing that we're going to be looking to see here is hopefully a clean break through this entire liquidity zone and then establishing some support kind of within this general area. You can see this is kind of maybe like the bright line at which you could say we've already broken through this level of resistance, but we do have kind of some other levels of support and then conversely resistance now that we are on the bottom side of this here. And so it would be nice to see a break clean through all of this and then potentially start to establish some more support, as we did see back in this November, December, January timeframe. Now, of course, as I have mentioned before here on the channel, we are going to be looking for a break through this top level. This is the all-time high of the altcoin market cap. So if we can break through this, this is when we hit price discovery. This is when we finally get that alt season that all of us have been looking for. So this is really important, and I'm going to be watching this very closely. We're still a fair bit off of it, at least right now, but we are seeing some really healthy and nice moves coming out of the altcoin market, which is of course really good to see. Now moving on, before we get into the altcoins, I want to take just a super quick look at Bitcoin here, because we can see, I mean, this is just like a textbook descending channel breakout, which is really good to see. We can see right here, obviously, you know, we kind of were bouncing through this for several weeks. We came up to the top of here. We were kind of doing like a slow trickle out, and then of course we have seen that really strong break to the upside. We actually saw this happening a little bit back in 2024 as well, and we also saw it happening here back in April when we were in this descending channel. I won't draw it, but you can see here we had the kind of the descending channel in this range, and then right here we kind of have this melt out and then spike up after that once we kind of broke through this resistance over the course of several days. We also saw something similar back in 2024, but in order to kind of save some time, this is an altcoin video, so we'll continue moving along with altcoins. Let's talk about one of the channel favorites here. Let's talk about ICP. So let's go pull this one up here pretty quickly, and we can see that ICP has made some really nice moves over the past couple of days. We're going to wait for the chart to load here, and we can see we already have some charting done that I wanted to talk about specifically. Couple of really important pieces here. So the first one is we have this kind of mid-level of resistance that we have seen. We have broken above it several times, so this isn't like a super strong level of resistance, but it is a resistance that does need to be respected and does need to be kind of fought through. And it does look at this point, we're kind of sitting right on it. Hopefully we can break above it. Right now it does look like we do have the momentum that we probably will. But of course, you just never know. It is crypto. And then after that, we do get up into this kind of mid $6 range. And then we have the fib charts here, because what we can see here is that ICP, I would say, respects fib charts somewhat relatively well. We do have some of these other really important support and resistances here on the blue lines. I wanted to highlight those. But as far as fibs are concerned, we can see we've got that pretty strong level of support here at this $6.86 range. After that, we do have another level of resistance here at this $8.50 range, and then we've got $9.88. This was a really key level of support that we saw back here in the December January timeframe, and then then we've got that 618 here. Again, this like 0.5 to 618, we could see there was a bunch of kind of volume and liquidity in this range. And then going up, we have the 786 up at the $13.16. And then we're back at highs of about $15.50. So that's kind of what we're looking at for the immediate term in terms of ICP. I think the most difficult piece to break through is going to be kind of the $6.40, $6.80 range. You can see this is two pretty key levels of resistance. I mean, obviously we had two major swing highs here, and then we also have kind of a key level of support that we eventually broke through. This range, I think, is going to be quite the challenge to successfully break through. So if we can get through here, I do think we have a fairly decent shot making it a decent way back up this fib ladder. If we go and we scroll out even more, we can start looking at some of these fib extensions. We can start looking at kind of what we could potentially see. A lot of people have been talking about a $25 ICP. I think it's probably more likely that we get to this kind of 22, like high $22 range before 25, obviously, just because this is a key level of fib resistance as well. So we'll be looking for that. We'll have our eye closely on that. And then after that, we're going to be looking at $34 would be the 2618, 3618 is 45, and then the $52 at the 4236. So things looking really nice and seeing a little bit of some strong momentum coming out for ICP. However, we do really need to kind of break above this 236. We can see there's been a ton of accumulation in this phase. And so if we are going to see any level of upward momentum, we do need to break through here. Now, I did want to continue moving right along. We're going to take a look at Kaspa here now. Kaspa, of course, always looking pretty good. We can see some really nice changes over the past couple of days. And what we're going to see here is some pretty interesting stuff. So obviously we're going to have to let this load up just for 1 second. We'll pull this into full screen. But we can see, again, I've already done some charting here, that we have another really key level of resistance that we're running into about this 9.2 cent range. We've had a bunch of momentum. Obviously, this sell-off was due to the Middle Eastern conflict, which has since seemingly been resolved. And then we had a little bit of some support rolling up here, consolidation, and then we have seen that breakout. I actually did open a Kaspa position in this range when we saw this level of consolidation happening, because it did look like it was coiling for some volatility. And of course, here we go. We've seen a really, really nice move. I think my leverage trade that I took on this is up about 150% so far. So pretty nice move. I think right here, this is a great time to take some profits. And then of course, if we do make a breakthrough here, then we could continue to let it run. Probably what I'll be doing is closing about half of my position right now at this point, and then leaving the other half to potentially run, and I'll just set it back at break even or something like that. Is generally how I like to trade these types of moves. So we'll have to see what happens in the future for Kaspa, but at least right now we've seen a really nice move to this level. It would not surprise me if we saw a little bit of some stuttering out at this point. Ideally, we would keep our momentum just long enough to break through this resistance and then hopefully establish some support on this key level. That is, in my opinion, kind of best case. We'll just have to wait and see. It does look like the crypto market might have some juice to get us through the weekend and kind of continue some bullish moves, but it is Friday, and usually the weekends are a little bit more they bleed a little bit harder just because we have institutions involved in a more serious manner now. So we'll have to see, but that's how things are looking for Kaspa. Honestly, looking really, really nice. As I did mention, because Kaspa sold off so hard due to the Middle Eastern conflict, I figured that we would probably see an equal and opposite kind of rebound if it did come back. And of course, that's kind of exactly what we're seeing. So I did want to take a quick look at XCN or Onyx coin next, just because we have, you can see 21% in the past 24 hours, a really, really solid move coming. So I want to do just a quick overview into XCN and see kind of what we're looking at. Now I have done some charting here as well. You can see we have broken through with complete gusto through this descending trend line. This trend line had been respected basically since April going forward. So the fact that we have broken through, and we've broken through with such force, is incredibly good to see. We've also actually just completely smashed through two key levels of resistance, and we're running in now into a third. We'll see if we have the momentum to break through it. But right now, I mean, this is an absolutely wonderful move. So how I'm seeing this now is we've broken through the 236 obviously already. We've broken through this other key level of resistance. We saw multiple swing highs hit here, as well as some swing lows before we broke through it. Both of these have been conquered, at least as of right now. If we can close above this, maybe even put in some volume between these two, because I can see that this could be a little bit of a pinch point. We've kind of seen this in the past as well on the chart. If we can close here, put some volume in here, and then continue up, that would be fantastic. Or maybe we can even get through the 382 fib level, and then we can put in some volume there. That would even be better. However, just given this type of move, it is probably somewhat unlikely that we see that. We could realistically even see some level of retrace back to this 236 level. It would not be the end of the world, I think, if we saw that. What we really want to see, more importantly than anything else, is a break and a close above this descending trend line. Now, given how massively this has broken through this trend line, I think the odds of us coming back down and through are relatively low. But again, as I always say, it is crypto, anything is possible. So just kind of watch out there and make sure that you know what you're getting into, and you can kind of see what you're doing. Now, I'm going to actually do a little bit of a pivot off of BTCC, more about them here in a second, onto TradingView, just because BTCC has listed the Zebec Network relatively recently, so there's not a whole lot of chart history there, and so I figured it would be best to look at this through TradingView. But we will be coming back to BTCC when we're looking at SUI and XRP. Have some more information on both of those as well, so if you are interested, of course, just kind of stay tuned to the end of the video. Lots of really good updates that we're going through, and you'll notice that we're seeing some similar things happening in a lot of these different coins. Some of them are showing a little bit different structures, but we are seeing some similar things, and I think this should be a good indicator of which ones might be leading the pack versus which ones might be struggling a little bit, and where we can see the most momentum coming. And I think this serves as a really good indicator for what we could see in the coming weeks. Now, going back to Zebec, we can see something very similar to Onyx coin. We had this descending trend line. Again, it hasn't broken through with as much force, but it has actually broken first and closed above and stayed above. So we're, Zebec may be leading Onyx coin a little bit, but with a little bit less momentum. On here, we can see we did break and close. We kind of tried to come back in, but really we bounced off, and now we're kind of bouncing back up from this descending trend line, which we have seen set. So this is looking quite nice in my opinion. I think we're seeing a pretty good development here. Zebec, as you might be able to tell, is one that seems to follow the Fibonacci's relatively well. So I'm going to zoom this in a little bit so we can take a closer look at the Fibonacci's here. But what we can see is we've already broken through, we've kind of been dancing around the 236 as well as this other key level. Basically kind of at the same level between like the 0033 and like the 0034 range. We've kind of been dancing on both sides of this, not really respecting it too much as a support or resistance. It's this trend line. This trend line is kind of the main story here. But next, what we can see is this 382 range at the 0041. This is probably going to be a pretty decent level of resistance. We've already kind of gotten close and wicked down so far. I think seeing some momentum build up into this and then move through it would be good to see. And then of course we have the 5 at this 0047 range, which is, again, we can see tons of wicks up into this range, serving as a pretty decent level of resistance. And then the 618, we can also see several wicks both down into it as well as up into it as well at the 0053 range. And then 786, not really a super strong level, just because we haven't seen kind of too much price respect or price support around it. So we can kind of ignore that one maybe for the short term. And then we're back up to all-time highs of 0072. So we'll have to see kind of exactly what happens here. I think the big story here for the Zebec Network is we have, at least at this point, seem to respect that we've broken, retested, and now maybe potentially bounced off. This, of course, if you have been following the channel, this is something that we talk about all the time. This is a really strong indicator that we have actually broken this trend, and we are going to be seeing a trend change. Now, the key point here is that it would ideally be good to see a higher high than one of these swing highs. We've not seen that yet. We are still kind of generally looking at a lower high. It would be good to see that, but of course we have not actually put in a top yet. So ideally, if we could kind of make it up even to the 0.5 or maybe even the 0.618 fib range, that would be ideal for Zebec and would clearly confirm a trend change. But we'll just have to see. Even right now, breaking out of this trend line, I do think we could probably say that we have seen a trend change take place. Now let's go on ahead and let's take a quick look at SUI, and then we will go back to XRP and we'll end off with XRP. If you're still waiting to hear about XRP, trust me, I'm probably saving the best for last. XRP is looking really, really nice. As I've mentioned, it's probably the most compelling altcoin that we have seen of this cycle so far, and this is coming from somebody who's kind of like a natural XRP skeptic. So you're not going to want to miss that. Keep staying around for that. Here on SUI, though, we can see something, again, also really impressive happening. We can see here running right into this 0.5 fib level right now at the 353 range. So it's really important to see that we are kind of running into that. This might be a pretty key level of resistance because we have seen this take place before. And then if we are looking to continue on our way up, we can see that 0.618 at the $3.97 range. Basically that $4 psychological resistance is what we're going to see next, and then here up at the $4.68 range is going to be the next one after that, kind of with this level of resistance that we've seen here at $4.33. So we have seen kind of some of these marks to hit up here before, but we are putting in some really, really strong momentum, of course breaking through a similar type of descending trend line. We are putting in higher highs and higher lows on kind of more of that micro trend, so things are looking really, really good for SUI, and we are seeing that turnaround. So really, really good to see there. Let's wrap it up with XRP, and then we will kind of continue and give some more overall thoughts on the market before we wrap it up. I know this video is a little bit longer than what we have been doing recently, but I figured it'd be really good to give you guys an overall altcoin market update, just because so many things have happened over the past couple of days. So I figured it would be worthwhile to do that. Now, looking here, we can see XRP looking really, really nice and really strong. We did bounce off of this key level of support at the $1.90 range, and we have just absolutely rocketed over the past couple of weeks. We've gone clear through this $2.65 resistance point. It looked like that might have been a potential issue. Nope, not at all. We're actually going straight on up into this $2.92 range, and then again we have that kind of $3 psychological resistance. So kind of between like the $2.93 to $3 range, I would expect to see some level of resistance, but if we break through there, then we're going to be looking to be taking shots at new all-time highs, which would be really fantastic to see. So we'll have to see how that goes, but overall I'm really, really pleased with how this XRP chart has been looking. And again, let's actually zoom out on this a little bit to show you just what we've seen out of XRP. Look at this as far as a retrace goes. This is probably one of the most impressive altcoins that we have seen. Many altcoins giving almost all of their gains back that they saw kind of pre-November. Not XRP. XRP has been absolutely crushing. Retraced close to 50% off of this, which again, I had mentioned, you can go back several months ago and see I said that this was a possibility, and it did end up happening, but not any more than that. I think a lot of other altcoins fell further than I might have expected them to. XRP has done right about what I expected. So XRP has definitely held really, really strong through this cycle, and it is one of the altcoins that we should continue to watch, because we're right back marching towards $3, and potentially after that, maybe $5 and maybe onward from there. So we'll have to see. If you are interested in getting into any of these trades and doing some leverage trading, feel free to use my link in the description below. I do have that link to BTCC. You should be able to find that, as well as a 10% bonus on first-time deposits, which is of course a really, really good deal. Also up to $10,055 in deposit and trading bonuses if that is something that you are interested in. BTCC is a great place to trade, have a lot of tons of great leverage, flexibility options, things like that, as well as no VPN or KYC. So if you are interested, feel free to check that link in the description below, and feel free to go on ahead and get signed up. I do also have the link for Blowfin as well, and that trading bot that you can only get access to through my link in Blowfin if you are interested. So hopefully you did find the information in this video useful. If you did, of course, a like and a subscribe does really help me out. And then if you do have any comments, questions, thoughts, feelings, anything like that, just drop those in the comment section. I do read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything that you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do so. Thanks for tuning in, guys. guys, and we'll see you in the next one.